Hi there, and welcome to our Cambria Style virtual design event. We are so glad to have you here for what promises to be a truly inspiring conversation about designing spaces with timeless appeal. We're joined today by three powerhouse design pros. They are leaders in the industry whose work defines elevated, lasting style. You're going to walk away with fresh ideas and expert insights. We'll introduce these incredible voices in just a moment. But before we dive in, just a quick bit of housekeeping. If you'd like to revisit today's conversation or share it with a friend, the full recording will be available soon at cambriausa.com/style. And as always, on Cambria's YouTube channel. We also love making these events interactive. So keep an eye out for a quick poll, questions throughout the session. It's such a great way to join the conversation and share your thoughts with us. I know I want to hear them. And of course, we're here for your questions. So feel free to drop into the QA box anytime. Our team will be standing by and I'm going to answer questions too. So it'll be fun. So let's dive in. If we haven't met, I'm Summer Cass, head of design at Cambria, and I've been with Cambria for more than 23 years, and my team is the creative force behind all new Cambria quartz designs. And joining me today are three luminaries in the world of design representing different parts of the country. First, we have Corey Damen Jenkins, who's founder and CEO of his New York-based interior design firm. He's also a best-selling author with a new book launching this fall titled Design Reimagined, a fresh and colorful take on timeless rooms. So glad to have you here, Corey.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and then we have Alisha Taylor, founder of her Arizona-based design studio, where she's earned local and national acclaim for her award-winning work crafting beautiful, livable homes in the Southwest. Alisha, happy to have you here.
Hello.
And last, we have Gil Melott, founder of his luxury Chicago design firm, known for his eclectic sensorial approach to high-end residential and boutique hospitality interiors. Gil, happy to have you.
Thanks, Summer. Great to be here.
We are so excited to have you guys here and with us to discuss shifting perspectives on luxury, because you all understand that true luxury goes beyond those fleeting trends and lies in enduring quality, sustainability, and mindful design details, which we're going to talk about. So we can't wait to hear from you about what goes into timeless design. So let's get started.
Well, that's me.
Gil, we are kicking off with you in one of these beautiful projects I know you did in a historic home in Chicago. So talk us through it, and also what are those timeless elements that you incorporated?
Well, you couldn't use a better word than timeless. This home is an 1890s farmhouse. It was originally a dairy farm. And this family is a young family, three vibrant children, a husband who is a hotelier, a wife who is a very active in the community, actually across the United States. And they wanted to create a home that gave them a sense of timelessness, that felt it was collected over time, that gave them a sense of fun and eclecticism, which is one of my buzzwords and the DNA of my design firm. And we wanted to use things that were both antiques. We designed new pieces of furniture, and we wanted to give them something that was lived in. We call this space the game room. So it was for the kids' games, it was for football games on Saturdays, and it was for the occasional glass of wine on a nice Friday night. And so one of the things that we really can appreciate working with Cambria is that we were able to take the product that was both beautiful, but was really pragmatic. And if you look at this little table that we put between our newly designed sofa and our vintage pieces of those two beautiful lounge chairs from NB Home in Nashville, we designed this table using Cambria's Newport stone that allowed us to endure all those things, everything from jelly sandwiches to a lovely bottle of red wine.
Love it. It's amazing. And Alisha, I'd love to hear your perspective because you're in a totally different part of the country where a lot of your building and structures are newer. And how do you build in timeless into all your spaces?
That's a great question because, Gil, I'm so jealous of the history and some of those projects you get to work on in the Chicago area. But in the desert, we're dealing with a lot of new construction. But I think you're going to find some of the very same timeless elements, whether you're redoing a space like Gil did here or that new construction. Is this is rich in those like architecture details, the ceiling designs, the striking doors and windows, the fireplace. First you have to start with the foundation and a good foundation, whether it's a remodel or new construction. And then you can build in that personality, which I just want to meet this couple who lives here because you can just tell they're fun. So Gil does such a great job with that color and vibrancy while still keeping it timeless and personal.
Yeah, and Corey, I know you love color and you love fun and layers, so I'd love to hear your commentary on the space.
Absolutely. I think that one of the things I appreciate about this work that Gil accomplished here was the embracing of bold jewel tones and color. And I was honored to speak in Thailand recently and speak on color theory to a crowd there and how color affects our moods. And we looked at the historical nature of how color has influenced humans throughout time. And in ancient civilizations like the Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians, the Babylonians, color was reserved for those who were very wealthy because the wealthy could afford the dyes that were required to change the color of fabrics and for clothing and for furniture and for drapes and things of that nature. Whereas those who were poor really could not afford access to dye. So therefore, their clothing, their interiors were much more neutral, basically white on white, very dull. And so what I love about Gil's work here is that it's an embracing of jewel tone colors because when you think about, like, for example, in the Great Recession, we started painting all of our interiors gray and beige for fear of resale value, not, being, successful, living in an era where things were not permanent, all about shifting and being ready to pivot to a new reality. Whereas a person that paints their room with a vibrant jewel tone color or decorates their space like Gil has done here, they're saying, I don't care about, selling my house tomorrow. I'm going to live a full life now. And that's really rich. That's wealth in an emotional way. It's an emotionally wealthy way to live in the now. So joyful jewel tone colors as he's used here celebrates living a full lifestyle while we still have breath in our lungs. It's
I
wonderful.
think he, meaning Corey, has nailed exactly what we are aspiring to do as designers. We often talk about we want to represent our clients, but the only true way we can represent our clients is by representing who they are,
Mhm.
right? Not what we want them to be, but who they are. Our job is to be the lens or the filter for how they want to live and who they represent. And so, this is obviously a very vibrant family. They're a very active family that are sophisticated, but they are also a family that loves to be together and enjoying themselves and enjoy themselves. And so, to Corey's point, those colors reflect not only the family, it reflects the nature they live in. Those windows are there for a reason. They want to be both inside and outside and be the vibrant, enjoy the vibrancy that is there. And so I want to espouse nothing more than to be a reflection of your client and not let them be mired down by what they see as a trend or what they see their neighbors doing. It's to dig in and deliver what they are doing and who they are.
Yeah, I love it.
I I love that you're shining a light on their personal style. And we're going to
Correct.
shift gears to a project where you were able to create your own space to what your style. And here we have this beautiful kitchen that Gil designed for Kips Decorator Show House in Dallas. This is 2021. I think we had to wear masks when we went through this house, if I remember correctly, when I was
Yeah.
there.
We
Um,
did. Well, it was crazy.
yeah.
I'll jump right in here. 2021, I had just had an open heart surgery. I'm not kidding you.
Oh my God.
I didn't think I
Two,
knew that,
I
Gil.
two
I
weeks
didn't
late,
either.
2 weeks later, yes, 2 weeks later, I get a call from Kips Bay and they say, "Would you like to redesign the kitchen for Kips Bay Show House?" And I say,
Of course.
"Choice. Of course I would." right? And so we did. And the good news is I got to meet Corey. That's where I met Corey.
Next door
But
neighbor.
the
Yep.
even better news was that it gives me an opportunity and gives all the designers an opportunity to really embrace design for design and to give an opportunity to showcase ideas that you might not otherwise get to do. We got to really color drench this space in Benjamin Moore's beige, or excuse me, sage color. And it was really an opportunity to take advantage of simple lines and simple designs, but elevate them in a sophisticated way. And Cambria really allowed us to take chances and work with a fabricator that helped us deliver a really beautiful product. I'll give you an example of that. You know, on the outer perimeter, we use Cambria's, excuse me, black rock, which had a sort of modeling in the black surface of the stone. And what that did is it allowed us to echo what was going on in the outside by the pool, which was beautifully echoed through this 14-foot window that we had exposure to the outdoors. And it was reflected again in the mirror, the antique mirror behind the stove. Um, we used it as in a matte finish so that we weren't being overwhelmed by the light or the exposure from either one of those things. And then the powers that be allowed us to deliver a take on the Angelo Maggiorati style in this island with these beautiful column legs and the sophisticated Italian delivery. And that wouldn't have happened had we not, you know, had Cambria helping us deliver that with a great fabricator. And I think this is key in finding relationships that are sophisticated and understanding and willing to give you the design that you want and work with you to help make that happen. And this was a really wonderful experience for me personally. But I think that the people that came in, it was a relaxing experience. We tongue in cheek, we named this space "Honey, Tilda Swinton is coming home for dinner." It was our way of saying, "Don't worry about it too much. She's kind of simple. Just bring out the take home food. She'll eat that. She'll enjoy it. Just also bring out the whiskey." So we think we delivered against that promise.
Yeah, no fuss, no muss. And it's so timeless just in appearance. You know, you talk about like European style, but also obviously having Cambria, it's going to outlast the home.
Correct.
Which we love. Corey, you were there. Your space, which we're going to talk about in a few slides, the dining room was adjacent. And so what was your thoughts when you first experienced the kitchen?
Yeah, I was next door to Gil's space, and seeing that space come together was such a joy. And one thing that he did that I really enjoyed that we also aimed to accomplish with Cambria was using the quartz in fresh and inspiring ways beyond just countertops. As you can see here with the island and his space, it's almost like a piece of fine furniture with the legs and all of that. I know that takes a lot of skill and design and specifications to kind of capture that sculptural look. And we did something very similar in our dining room design as far as using the quartz in a very different way beyond just, you know, surface materials. So I love that. I think it's important for people to see the versatility of what quartz can be used for. And I think the Cambria line offers, you know, limitless opportunities with that. And I think Gil kind of demonstrated that beautifully in this kitchen.
I love that. Alisha, any lasting thoughts on this beautiful kitchen?
Well, as we talk about timeless, there's just some really cool aspects of this from just design theory and proportion and the light fixtures over the island, that repetition. You know, those are little things that can really create a timeless look instead of following every little fad that comes our way as designers. It's peaceful yet bold. And I think that's going to give any designer, if you kind of lean into those elements, it's going to give you a timeless design and a happy client.
Awesome.
I love it. I love it. All right, let's move into a more modern aesthetic by Gil also, which we love. And also it just shows that high contrast, which can be timeless as well. So Gil, take us through it.
Well, this was a very, very modern home, and the family, the couple that lives here, she's an artist and he works for a large accounting firm. So, let's take that into account. He's one way and she's another, right? He's very strict. He loves form. She's very flowing and loves movement, right? So we have two polar opposite ideas and thinking. And one of the interesting things is they both love to cook, right? So it is the heart of the home. And that sounds cliche, but it is centered to what they do. And so they wanted the kitchen, which sits in a very long sort of shotgun space in the first floor of their home. They wanted it to be something that had a language of its own and felt grounding. The other side of our decision to put this very, very bold black brook quartz there was we wanted to make the space feel natural. We wanted to make the space feel that it had this giant monolith rising from the center of the space, this very white home. It's a very gallery looking space. And this was our answer or response to that request and the brief from the clients. And we think that this stone really delivered against that. And it gives the home the eye a place to rest as it's going to the next space, which is the dining room, and then to the outer space and to the roof deck. And so it gives us a nice relief to what's going on with all the brightness in the home, but it also gives it a real grounding space, a place to come and rest, not only for the eye, but for the person.
I love that. And Corey, I know contrast is hugely in your design philosophy. What do you have to add to that?
Well, this is a very fashion forward space. You can see these same colors and textures and patterns that you see in demonstration here in the space on a model running, walking on the runway in an haute couture fashion show in Paris, right? So I think that is an important thing to keep in mind when it comes to using textural elements like the quartz offerings from Cambria. And in general, I think it's very important that people recognize and remember that there's a fashion forward element that can be drawn from design with fashion. I do think that they basically inform each other, and it's a beautiful thing to take into account with these interiors.
I love what you say about they inform each other. And as a designer of countertops, I always look to fashion and look to the runway in Paris and Milan for inspiration. But I think you're right. I think it goes both ways, which is really great. And the contrast, I think, can be done in so many different ways. Alisha, I know we're going to talk contrast a little bit, but I'm curious, in your part of the country, are dark countertops becoming more popular or more prevalent?
Yeah, so designing in the desert, we deal more with a neutral palette than Corey's amazing, colorful, vibrant designs, which I am very jealous of. Our clients become a little guarded and safe, but I think this is a great example. I would call this a neutral in the fact that there's not the strong colors or color drenching, but yet it's so classic. And so in a lot of neutral design, we play with high contrast, whether it's black and white or on the warmer palette, a cream and a really pretty walnut. There are ways to layer a design, and the simplicity and elegance of it, and then the bold contrast with that countertop, that's how you get a great timeless design, and that contrast is what nails it here. And yeah, we're seeing that in the desert quite a bit, is playing with those contrasts, bringing in highs and lows as a way of layering and creating drama. Even if we have a client who doesn't want to bring in color for drama, high contrast is like the next best thing for a designer.
I will tell you,
So
Kath,
important.
yeah, I'm sorry not to interrupt you, Corey, but I will tell you, Kath, that that is a perfect point to make. This was a couple that was afraid of color and afraid of difference and afraid of change. And so this was a major step in adding boldness. And they couldn't be happier that this is the bold statement that they made, right? And it allowed them later on in the design process to make color choices in bedrooms and fabrics and those types of things that they probably wouldn't have made, because this is a significant, permanent, longevity making decision. And so, and an early one in the process, right? And so having that done and solidified allowed them to make further decisions down the line that we're more confident in.
Well, and it's fascinating. Like our jobs as designers is to push our clients, but we still want them to feel like it's that room speaks to them. So
Sure.
it's like you said, like when you explain the client in each of these designs you've done, Gil, the contrast of that very first slide to this slide, it's the client that speaks really in these designs, but yet you've pushed them to the edge of their comfort zone to explore and like really highlight their personalities and who they are. And I think that's really our job as designers with these timeless designs is understand who our clients are and like see where those boundaries take them and take us. And you that's when you start having fun.
I think every space should have great artwork, and the kitchen should not be left out as far as having great art. But often, because it is a working space where there's grease splattering and spaghetti sauce and food, moving around the area, people may be, kind of reticent to put fine art or even any kind of artwork in their kitchen because it's a truly functional space. But that's where quartz, stone materialities can come into the orbit and take the place of art. This Cambria quartz that you see here in this kitchen on the left, and also on the right, the countertop there, it does stand in as a wonderful artful expression in the space. So really there's no excuse for any space, neutral or, colorfully vibrant, to be devoid of a great artistic statement as long as you've got great quartz in the orbit like we see here.
I love that, Corey. And I think about that all the time when I'm creating the Cambria art. So thanks for that comment. Let's move on to this beautiful 2-bathroom spaces by Alisha. I know there's a lot here in architecture and contrast, so take us through it.
So here in the desert, as you can see, we got a softer palette that we quite often are working with per our client's request, and really just the architecture and the desert palette that we are in. But one thing I will encourage designers to look for is opportunities to really be part of the conversation from architecture all the way through to the interiors. We do have the luxury in the desert of most of our projects are new construction. And so we're partnering with the architect from sketch on napkin all the way through. And even in a remodel on an East Coast or even some things, I would encourage kind of looking for those architectural opportunities because that's, again, your foundation and then build from here. So that bathroom on the left, the angles of the ceiling, that clear story window coming in, just creating some drama. It starts with architecture and then we can layer it in. Then we can do those soft tones. And I would say in a neutral palette, always look for opportunities for texture. So it's the countertops in this great Britannica pattern that we love. We've used it many times. It creates that almost like a texture or just a drama in the veining of the countertops. We took that vanity backsplash up a few more extra inches just to see it a little bit more. Timber wood front cabinetry on the vanity, layering mirrors and wall lighting, having 2 chandeliers instead of 1, just really filled the volume of this room. And so that's just a really cool way is I would encourage starting with architecture and then moving through into layers for timeless design. And then this bathroom on the right is the countertop is simple and it's not the statement, but it's a partner. It's a player in the game, but then it's a softer cabinet. And then there's the liege tile and the wall sconces and the layering of the faucets and the raised sink. And so it's really looking for opportunities to layer, and not everything has to be the show. It's like sometimes a supporting actress, I say, a supporting actor, supporting actress makes a movie. And so it's looking for all of those opportunities throughout and using Cambria as a tool. You can go pretty bold and loud as we've seen in some of the designs, and then you can kind of create that soft but yet durable surface and build a design from there.
And I have a question for everyone. The reeded wood or what you were talking about, the tambour, that's been around here for a couple of years. Trend or timeless?
I would say it's timeless, but I always tell people I don't follow trends, I set them. So as long as I say that it's in vogue, it shall remain in vogue.
Corey said
Well,
it here.
Corey said it here.
You heard it.
Well, I would agree with Corey though. You know, there is a trend is something that is not does not have a life to it, right? So we can mock the trend, right? Things that have sustainability, right? Because they are of good value, they have good design, they have good worth, they have sentimentality, right? Trends don't have those things. So a good designer, and let's say good designers don't follow those trends. Oftentimes our clients are attracted to them, but let's our jobs as designers is to find out what they are attracted to, right? Is it a texture? Is it a color? Is it the stone? You know, what is it that they are attracted to? And let us introduce them or educate them about those things and show them what the value is, right? What can we bring to the table that will bring them value and longevity, the part of this conversation that is important. The trend doesn't have longevity. So Corey's point, we're not going to bring trends. Alicia's not going to bring trend. Corey's not going to bring a trend, right? But we are going to bring value and longevity. And if there's something about what you see in that catalog that we can all talk about, there's something there that's appealing to you. Let's find out what that is, and I'll bring you something that's better. That's our job.
I love that.
Well,
Let's move on. Oh, Alisha, go ahead. Did you want to finish your thought?
Well, I'll say it's taking something that our client likes and putting it either in a unique way or just in one special spot. I think trends, it's where you see it in every place of the house. You see the timbre on the walls, you see the timbre on the cabinet fronts, you see the timbre, you know, that's where you can take something that by itself, they may see it as a trend, but yet we can specialize it and make it unique. When you start copy pasting, repeating, that's where we lose it.
I think one of the worst trends is that everything has to match. And previous spaces that we saw from Alicia's portfolio, as well as these spaces here, she's defeating that trend, that homogeny, that everything has to match, even as it pertains to the mixing and matching of finishes. She had brass, she had polished nickel, she had bronze, she had, burnt umber and black. It's all about mixing and matching it like fashion, like jewelry. Like I have a silver watch on, but I have gold rings. It's all about making it come together in a seamless, natural, unaffected way. And I think that's a really great theme and principle to live by in design versus following the trends of everything having to match. How boring is that? Life is too short to be match.
Preach.
Absolutely. Like a well-dressed woman walking in Paris who's effortless but knows how to curate. We love it. It's amazing. Okay, let's move on to the room we probably don't talk about enough, but Alisha, I know that you get the opportunity to do some pretty amazing laundry rooms. So let's talk about these two spaces.
So here out in the West, our rooms are all large. Our houses are large and the laundry rooms are large. So sorry, Corey, if you don't get these, ginormous laundry rooms, but in New York. But laundry rooms have taken a whole element and design of its own. And so many times there's multiple functions going on in these laundry rooms. This laundry room on the left is a workstation, a desk. She has a sewing machine that pops out from one of these, the corner cabinets all opens up and her sewing machine pops out. There's an electrical outlet in the little grommets in the countertop. You can't see there in our lovely photos where we hide that kind of stuff. But so there's a lot of function and multi-purpose in our large laundry rooms. But this laundry room, as far as timeless design, really goes into layers. Like you can have fun in a laundry room. We took the Irons Bridge Cambria product on the countertops, but also carried it up the wall. Not because kitchen grease and spaghetti sauce is being thrown like a kitchen, but because now it represents a texture and yeah, it's durable. And so that is opportunity to really create texture. And then above that bottom shelf and on all of the walls, there's a very subtle, soft patterned wallpaper that gets layered in there. So you have to look for it. But when you're in that space, those are the layers that to do something maybe more neutral and soft, and it's not going to have, the client doesn't want that striking boldness. They want soft and subtle and calming. It's all about the layers. And so a neutral palette doesn't have to be boring. It has to be layered. And so, and then this laundry room on the right, this is where we had a little bit more fun. This was for a family. They had 5 young kids. The laundry room was the workhorse of the family. And she's like, I'm going to be in there a lot. Can you make it fun? And the rest of the house is pretty neutral from what her, what she felt very comfortable with. And so, but the laundry room, I really pushed her to just, let's get that 2-tone cabinets. Let's get something bold. Let's get a little bit of a louder wallpaper pattern to just pop, because she was going to be spending some time in this room. And not that I love laundry, but if you're going to do laundry, why not have a fun space?
Absolutely. And I want to call out the Irons Bridge, which is probably one of my favorite designs of Cambria. I know
it's
you
our
guys
desert favorite, Summer. So when you created that pattern, you had us.
I did. I was actually spending a lot of time in the desert, so it did come from your area. But I wanted to also call out that full height backsplash, or I guess the wall cladding of Cambria was most likely in a 1 cm, which we offer in our full slab. So that's something, just from a maintenance standpoint, let's take it into shower surrounds or full walls and fireplaces. A huge timeless benefit.
Love it.
Love it. And let's move into your kitchen as we're talking about unique design, doing things different. This island is really special. So talk about, and the banquette in the back, in the windows, of course, with the desert in the background, it all is just perfectly done. How do you create these unique spaces or islands, but that are timeless because they're not your traditional island?
Well, I think it's looking for opportunity to not have a traditional island. This client, when they came to us, and I'm sure Gil and Corey can attest, sometimes our clients come to us with a design, like they're requesting things, and I'm like, oh, we're going to rethink this space. This client was adamant they wanted 2 islands. They just couldn't envision the space any different because that's all they could see. And so when I told her, hey, trust us as designers, I want to play a little differently. And actually with the layout and the architecture of this particular house, this was a really nice high-end remodel up in the North Scottsdale area. You can see those gorgeous desert hills out in the back. The architecture we were a little stuck with. So some of these room widths, the curved windows kind of came with the remodel. And so this T-shaped worked beautifully. So again, it's those architectural elements and finding that foundation and then building on it. But that island is actually a sagey green paint grade cabinetry finish. The wall, the perimeter cabinets are a much lighter version of that green. It has a very, very, very soft undertone, which we don't have much green in the desert, but we get a little. You can see out the windows, there's some green. And so it's pulling that nature in was a fun aspect of this. And then the drama of the Scarborough countertop was my favorite. So it really creates a bold statement without, instead of going high contrast, we went high contrast with the veining. And so creating the dark veins with a light background was perfect for this kind of subtle desert palette.
So you used on the island one materiality from Cambria, and then on the second big island below,
yes.
it's a contrast.
Yes.
That is so chic.
Yeah, it's really
That's very
lovely.
chic.
Yeah.
I like how the veining the veining sort of echoes what's going on in the mountains and the hills
Yes.
behind.
You saw it.
Yeah,
Yay.
absolutely. I mean, it's whether someone picks up that or not, it's a natural thing that your eye is going to follow that to the windows and then to the nature behind it. And it's those kind of things that make your work sophisticated and layered and give it longevity because it is different, right? And it is thoughtful and it is deliberate, but it doesn't have, but it's not like it doesn't have to be a powerful punch in the gut, right? It's something that is subtle enough that it'll be an aha moment one night and they'll see it and recognize, wow, I can't believe that they did that. And I think that's a wonderful way for a designer to think.
Yeah, it
Well, and
also
what's
underscores, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say about the client here, because I think we all design, we design for our clients. This client, this is a second home, a desert mountain winter home. They have the loud, bold Seattle house on the waterfront. And so they specifically said, we love that. That spoke to us and still does. But we want calm, serene. We are rarely working when we're on our, in for our winter visit to the desert. And so I actually had this client show me your Seattle house that they still love. And it was almost creating their own resort opposite. So they feel like they're in a fresh new space. But yet there are still elements that they're gonna love, that was like the shaker cabinets and some of these little things that I'm like, okay, we can't flip them upside down. We gotta, we have to turn them around and let them do that. And so that's where a lot of this came inspired is to flip what they loved about Seattle, but flip it and create something different in the desert for them.
It's amazing. It really is unique and special. So we're going to move on to our next slide, and we're going to talk to Corey a little bit about this stunning dining space. And it's front and center on the cover of your new book, Design Reimagined, which congratulations, I know it's dropping September 2nd, but available now for pre-order. I already went to Amazon and ordered my own. So I'm telling everyone, go Google it. It's out there and available. You're going to want it. But Corey, you have this series on YouTube that talks about the space. I watched them all. I just couldn't get enough. Talk to us, do your storytelling that you do so well.
Well, I wanted to do something, and thank you for the kind words, Summer. We wanted to do something that hadn't been done before. And so this is the first coffee table book ever in history to come with a complimentary television show on the YouTube channel. It's filmed in 4K. It's produced by a multi-Emmy award-winning and Peabody award-winning television crew that behind the television shows $1 Million Decorator and the Dream Home Makeover with Shay McGee and Project Runway. So it's like a reality television show based upon this book. And right now we're in season 1. We're already storyboarding season 2, which will tackle the second chapter of this book. But we've never done that before, taking readers when they get this book and get the behind the scenes visuals and meet the clients, the people who own the home, and have these like home tours and see how the homes are created from scratch. So it's a very joyful, eclectically exuberant book. It celebrates color and texture and pattern, whether it's a neutral space or a very colorful space. It celebrates the boldness and the joy of interior design. It really pushes the envelope in terms of letting go of the rules of interior design and embracing the principles, the tenets of good design, and being unapologetically okay with not following the trends, but really establishing your own trend as to what is beautiful in your own world, in your own home.
Yeah, and in this series and here in this beautiful dining room, a huge part actually was all driven by the clients and what they wanted out of this space. And this was a home for girls.
Yeah, as a single mom, had just recently made a huge life change as it pertains to her her marriage and was moving she and her two daughters into moving herself and her two daughters into a new beginning on the Upper East Side of New York City. And to your point, Summer, she told us, I only have one remit for you, one mandate: make this into a house for girls. And so it's very feminine, very elegant. She's a fashion maven herself, so you see a lot of notes and points towards the fashion runway, with the selection of finishes and velvets and silk and the Gracie wall covering, the Gournay wall covering you see here in this dining room, the Art Deco chandelier that took 9 hours to put together, shard by shard. It was a very fun project, but I think it underscores again our client who wants to live in the moment. And I think when we talk about longevity, that's what it's all about. It's about defeating homogeny and being caught up in spending money you should not be spending on things you really don't need, for things you really don't want, for people you really don't like, and focusing more on what makes me happy now in the moment. And so if it means color drenching your ceiling and walls in this dining room in this beautiful plum Pink Panther lacquer, if it means doing that and not thinking about reselling the apartment 2 or 5 years from now, do it. And the entire book, Design Reimagined, focuses on living in that mindset.
And you also talked about investing in the pieces that were going to have the longevity, like the bed or a beautiful dresser, and spending less on accessories that you can switch out.
Yeah, yeah, and getting great antiques. They're environmentally, sustainably conscious decision to make, and they're one of a kind. So again, leaning into what's out there and making it your own.
Gil, I know you have something to say about this.
No, I couldn't agree with Corey more. I really do. I love that. I love the exuberance. It's a great word, and it certainly describes Corey's design. I'm looking at this dining room, and one of the things that I know that Corey did in this dining room that I'd love for him to speak about. You have this amazing setup for a very sophisticated space for adults, but I know that you thought very carefully about the younger folks when you
Yeah.
designed those banquettes, because they sit at a table too. And I think that you were very thoughtful of not putting them at a folding table at the other end of the house.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I think that was really, really clever and how you did this dining room.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the 70s and 80s, we were children. We were sat at a card table, and just off to the side and put all the kids off. But now I think parents are so focused on their children not being absorbed too much in social media and on their phones, and they're sitting there with their phones and not being present. And so we're designing these dining rooms now in such a way to where the children are in the space. They may not be at the formal table, but they are in orbit. These banquettes have small little martini tables in front of them that is big enough for a dish and a glass and a full setting for it to eat from. But the children are listening to the adult conversations and they're maturing and growing up versus being, cycled off into a separate room away from the adults. So that's what these clients want. And many of our clients, I think, want that access to their children when they're having guests over for formal dinners now.
So thoughtful. I love it. And so let's move to the next, because we're going to shift from your client to what you designed and innovated in also the Kips Bay Decorator Show House of 2021 in Dallas. I loved when I first saw this, and when you took me through the space and how you reimagined the formal dining room and created these smaller Cambria clad bistro tables in Ivy Bridge, which is an amazing design with this beautiful teal and green. So talk about your vision here.
Well, this is another project that's featured in the new Design Reimagined book, and we wanted to show the versatility of quartz, what could be accomplished with quartz beyond countertops and more traditional applications of the quartz in spaces. And so you and I got together, Summer, a few years ago, and we decided we were going to make tables from quartz in the Cambria line to demonstrate the versatility of what could be done with materials. And the beauty of this is that with marble or other more porous materials, you set down a glass of red wine or spaghetti sauce splatters or whatever. You don't get up right away. It could sink in and could damage the material appearance. And some people will call that patina, or some sort of elegant aging. But some people can't get past that grape juice box stain on the marble. And so Cambria quartz offers you the versatility and the functionality and the durability when you're having a dining moment like this. So we want to demonstrate that here in this tinted room. The tables are clean and modern. They're very sexy as far as the silhouette, very simple to allow the material, the movement in the quartz to really, you know, kind of hold sway with the design. And then we partnered them with these really fantastic Louis XVI antique chairs upholstered in this lovely Sanderson lemon velvet, which was a lot of fun to do.
It was so beautiful. I know that all of the guests who toured the house were just blown away by this room, and you can't even see that tented area in these images, but I know they're out there and probably in your book. So
They're in the
people will be
book.
able to, amazing.
In the
Get
book.
the book. Okay, let's move on. We're almost to the end, but I wanted to close with a few final moments of design magic. We're ending on a high note with more stunning spaces from Corey's book. Each one is showstopper, I have to say, and a perfect match. Of course, I'm going to put this in there. Corey, hope to see you use this design, Remington brass, which is new and amazing. Maybe in your next book.
Yeah, absolutely.
But give us a quick inside scoop on these gorgeous rooms, and talk specifically about your show and the timeless pieces and how you incorporated that here so beautifully.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we just wanted to really, again, embrace the haute couture fashion runway and bring color and texture from what we're seeing in really fantastic designers' collections like Valentino, LA Saab, Belmont, and bring those textures into the interior design space, whether it's wrapping a wall with a beautiful hand-painted mural that's inspired by Japanese paintings, or these crimson drapes with the plaid ceiling, which is just wallpaper on the ceiling, but again, it's a nice textural kind of Ralph Lauren vibe. It's all about embracing what the client needs for their space to be to feel home and functional and embracing for them. The home on the very far right is a house that we designed in Carmel, California, up in the mountains. And to Alicia's commentary earlier, the client wanted the space to be very serene, very neutral, very laid back, and more about the nature, more about the views beyond the glass panes. So we kept the designs of the furniture and the artwork a bit more understated to give more limelight on the exterior natural architecture surrounding the home with the environment outside. So whether it's less is more or more is more, it's all about living life fully. And that to me is what longevity is all about. Getting the best mileage possible out of your interiors while you still have breath in your lungs.
I love it. And what a great statement to close us out. And I want to give Ashley and Gil an opportunity of any lasting thoughts on these spaces or just on our topic today.
Well, I think the theme is leaning into personal expression. If you're doing your own house, obviously have some fun. If you're working with a designer, be yourself. Let them get to know you. I think a lot of our clients worry about, oh, I don't want it to be trendy. It's like, well, no, let me get to know you, and it will be timeless because it's about you. And that's the beauty of walking into someone's home and getting a piece of who they are or what they want, whether it is serene or peaceful or bold and loud and artsy. And I think that's the definition of timeless, is the person who lives inside the home.
Well, now
So
what do
well
I
said.
say after that? I think
It's your drop the mic moment, Gil.
Well, I think the intention of creating a space is that we do what we need to do to create moments that are ours, right? It's for ourselves and for the people that we live with and the people that we want to be around us. And if we keep those things as the lens or the filter by which we create those spaces, then we'll do the right thing. Our decisions will be healthy. My advice is always to find the right partner to make it happen, whether it's your life partner, your designer, your contractor, whoever it is. Don't do it alone, because you'll get frustrated, but find your partner and find those things to do it for yourself.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to hire an interior designer because good
Nah.
designers look at your projects. I mentioned this, earlier. It's like a brick wall. Bricks represent the dreams and the vision of the client, but the designer should be the mortar in between those bricks holding it together. The more you back up from that brick wall, you should see more bricks and less mortar. I do know there's some designers out there, there's a lot of mortar and a little bit of brick, but the client's vision, their personality, when you're working with a good interior designer, their vision, your vision as a homeowner should be what dominates the visual, with the designer basically is holding it together like mortar. So don't be afraid of that process because it actually can enrich your entire experience and makes life again worth living with great longevity.
And that's what it's all about. So beautifully said. And that is a wrap on today's conversation. So inspiring. I learned so much myself. So a huge thank you to our phenomenal panelists and to all of you that joined us today for our Cambria Style design event. We hope you're walking away with fresh ideas and renewed perspective on timeless design, and also maybe a nudge to go hire an interior designer or find a partner if you don't in your design journey. I think that's a really good message to take away. Before we sign off, don't forget, you can dive deeper into design inspo and expert insights at cambriausa.com/style. You're going to find Cambria Style magazine and all of our blog content. It's curated for design lovers just like you. Also, I have to do shout outs to please follow everyone, Gil, Alisha, Corey, Cambria, on all the social channels. There's your handles right there. I highly recommend. Inspo nonstop for the future. And thank you, panelists, and all of our guests who joined us today. Until next time, we're going to sign off, and ciao for now. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Summer.
Thank you, Summer.